Honorable. Awarded to a service member who met or exceeded the standards of conduct and performance expected of them. It carries the full set of benefits: the GI Bill, VA healthcare, VA home loans, hiring preference for federal employment, and burial in a national cemetery. It is the only characterization that leaves a record with no explanation required. Roughly 85% of separations are honorable. It is issued by administrative process, not by any court, and no hearing is needed to grant it. General, under honorable conditions. Given when service was satisfactory overall, but included a significant departure from expected conduct. Typical reasons are a pattern of minor misconduct, failure to meet physical standards, or loss of a security clearance. It is not a punishment and no court is involved. Most VA benefits are retained, including healthcare and home loans. The GI Bill is not. A service member who completed years of duty can lose their entire education benefit through this characterization alone, which is why it is often the most consequential distinction on this list. Other than honorable, the most severe discharge that can be issued without a court-martial, it is used for serious misconduct, violence, security violations, drug offenses, prolonged absence, or conviction by a civilian court. Most VA benefits are lost, and eligibility for the rest is decided case by case rather than granted automatically. Re-enlistment requires a waiver that is rarely approved. It is frequently accepted voluntarily because a service member facing court-martial may be offered this characterization in exchange for requesting separation instead of standing trial. Uncharacterized. Also called an entry-level separation, issued when a service member leaves within the first 180 days. No characterization is assigned at all because the military takes the position that there was not enough service to evaluate. Common causes are failure to adapt to training, a medical condition discovered after enlistment, or an error in the enlistment itself. It is not a negative discharge. In practice, it is frequently misread as one by civilian employers who see a blank where they expected a rating. Bad conduct. The first of the punitive discharges, meaning it can only be imposed by a court-martial rather than by an administrative decision. It requires conviction at a special or general court-martial and almost always follows a period of confinement. Nearly all veterans' benefits are lost. It appears on a federal criminal record. Because it is a sentence rather than a personnel action, it carries a legal weight that no administrative discharge does, regardless of how similar the underlying conduct may have been. Dishonorable. The most severe discharge in the United States military, imposed only by a general court-martial, the highest level of military court. It is reserved for offenses such as murder, sexual assault, desertion, espionage, and treason. Every military and veterans benefit is forfeited. Federal law prohibits the recipient from possessing a firearm for the rest of their life. Employers, licensing boards, and courts generally treat it as equivalent to a felony conviction, and in most practical respects, it functions as one. Dismissal. The officer equivalent of a dishonorable discharge. Commissioned officers, cadets, and midshipmen cannot receive a dishonorable discharge at all because the characterization is written to apply to enlisted personnel. They receive a dismissal instead, which carries the same consequences and can likewise be imposed only by a general court-martial. Historically, it required the personal approval of the President of the United States. Today, the approval authority sits with the Secretary of the relevant service branch. Medical separation, issued when a service member is found unfit to continue serving because of a medical condition. The outcome depends entirely on a disability rating. Rated below 30%, the member is separated with a one-time severance payment. Rated at 30% or above, the member is medically retired, which brings monthly retirement pay and continued healthcare coverage for the family. The gap between a 20% rating and a 30% rating is the difference between a single check and a pension for life. Convenience of the government. A category covering separations where no misconduct is involved, and the military has simply determined that releasing the member serves its own interests. It includes hardship cases, pregnancy and parenthood, recognized conscientious objection, and force reductions. It also includes the sole survivor provision, which allows a service member to be discharged if they are the last surviving child of a family that has already lost members in military service. That policy was written after the 5 Sullivan brothers died together aboard a single ship in 1942. Separations in this category are normally characterized as honorable. Retirement. Not a discharge at all, but the outcome most service members are working toward. After 20 years, the member transfers to the retired list rather than being separated from the military. They receive a pension for life, keep their identification card, and retain healthcare coverage for themselves and their family. The distinction matters legally as well as financially. Retirees from the regular component remain subject to military law permanently. They can, in principle, be recalled to active duty and tried by court-martial for conduct committed years after leaving service. And federal courts have upheld that authority. Undesirable. The predecessor to the other than honorable discharge, used from the 1940s until the 1970s. It was an administrative separation issued under conditions other than honorable, requiring no trial and no finding of guilt. Its most significant use came during the Vietnam era, when large numbers were issued for absence, drug use, and insubordination. Many recipients carried it for decades before review boards began upgrading them. The category was retired and replaced, but the discharges issued under it remain on the records of those who received them. Section 8. A discharge for being mentally unfit to serve, originating in a Second World War Army regulation. It required no court and no criminal finding, only a determination that the individual was unsuitable. It was applied to genuine psychiatric casualties, and it was also used as an administrative tool to remove service members considered undesirable for reasons that had nothing to do with mental health, including homosexuality. The regulation was eventually eliminated, but the term outlived it by decades, kept in circulation by Catch-22 and MASH. Blue discharge, issued from 1916 until 1947, and printed on blue paper, which is where the name comes from. It was neither honorable nor dishonorable, which meant it required no trial while still marking the recipient permanently. Roughly 48,000 were issued during the Second World War. Black service members received about 22% of them while making up around 6% of the Army. It was also the standard method for removing gay service members. The Veterans Administration denied GI Bill benefits to recipients despite the discharge carrying no formal finding of misconduct. After a campaign by the black press and a congressional investigation that found the system was being applied by prejudice rather than by evidence, the category was abolished. Thanks for watching. Should a discharge follow someone for the rest of their life? What do you think? Drop it in the comments. Also, please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.